Hello friends, I'm very excited today to share the most potent, powerful parenting tips from Ben Greenfield's Boundless Parenting book. This isn't the book, this is his Boundless Health book. These things are massive. So I chose to listen to the parenting book on Audible, which was great. I would totally recommend it. Basically, Ben interviews 37 parents, asks them all the same series of questions, and with listening to it, you're able to hear most of the interviewees actually respond in their own voice with their own inflection. A few times you could hear when parents were getting emotional, and it just made it that much more relatable and kind of interesting hearing all the different characters talk about their parenting journey. So I'm going to share the best tip right off the hop. Why not? One of the last questions Ben asked the parents in the book was, are you afraid that some of your, offbeat or strange ways of parenting are going to make your kids weird? And each parent said, no. We're hoping to raise our kids to be more than normal. We want them to feel like they can express, they can be themselves, and they can live a really exceptional, amazing version of life. So I found that very empowering, and hopefully for any of you that are doing things differently, maybe you're homeschooling or unschooling or world schooling or who knows what in your parenting journey. There's so many different things, certain diets or activities you're into, just to take away any of that insecurity or fear around our kids being different and actually see that as a superhero quality. So throughout this video, I'm just going to share what I found to be the best, most potent takeaways from this parenting encyclopedia. Ben Greenfield is the first chapter. He kind of just riffs on his own about his own parenting journey. He has two boys that are twins. They're, I think, like 14, 15. But my favorite takeaway from Ben is that he's very much into consequence-based parenting. So teaching his kids about things and telling them, what happens when you eat gluten? If you want to go eat gluten, that's fine. But don't come crying to me, if you get acne and a bellyache or whatever. Also just the fact that they're living on a farm and all of the members of the family have a task with farming. And if one of the kids doesn't go and get milk or doesn't go and get an egg, well, that's your responsibility. If you don't do that, you're not eating. So of course, Ben is very loving, but he gives all these examples of how he teaches his kids to logically process information when they're making choices. Whether that's around exercise or even watching porn or drinking alcohol, nothing is off the table. Let's talk, let's discuss, let's process this together, and just bringing to their awareness, like consequences a few steps down the road. So I think this is awesome because it takes away so much victim mentality. Yeah, it raises very, very smart, intelligent humans. So I'm excited. I only have a 5-year-old and 6-year-old, but we've definitely started explaining a lot of things to them and they get it. They're smarter than I thought. Okay, so my next favorite guy, the Liver King, he's never resonated with me when I've heard him on Instagram and stuff. The big crazy guy who's like eating testicles and raw liver all the time. Best thing he said, when they go to a restaurant as a family, which is rare, but when they go, they don't order off the menu. They're like, hey chef, man, can I have this and this? Is that possible? That's what I'd really love to eat right now. And oftentimes they'll call ahead in the restaurants that they accommodate. And his takeaway that he's teaching his sons is that in life, when they tell you the option is A, B, or C, you say, no thanks. I'm gonna go for Z, because Z is the option I actually want. That's my attempted Liver King voice. But just to really be clear on what you want and not limit yourself to the prescribed list or normal outcomes, but find a way, make a way to get J or L or K or whatever letter of the alphabet you'd like to strive after. So that's a big concept. I got to implement that one first myself, but I love the idea of even putting that into my boys' psyche or having that as part of our familial value system. We choose what we want, not what we're just told is available. So the next gentleman I listened to his chapter 3 times, Mr. Donnell, and I made my husband listen to his chapter. He has a book I have on order, Smart Not Spoiled. It's all about money. And so he comes from intergenerational wealth, and he has 7 tips for how to, basically 7 essential tips financially that you need to teach your kids before they leave. the nest. And I have a feeling I don't even know these tips, and I don't even apply these tips to myself. So I'm excited to read it for myself. And then of course for bringing up my kids. But all around, how does money really work? How do you responsibly teach your kids with allowance and earning money? He had all these great ideas how you can get together and do like a kids craft fair to already show them how business works. And he has a website you can look him up at and an app called Gravy Stack, which is really neat. It talks about you know, fiscal responsibility and already starting with really young children to teach them the way that the world and money works. The other thing they did was he said, make your last name matter. So in the Donnell family, we are honest no matter who's watching. We like to have fun. There was a bunch of stuff that he listed, but we started scribing this out for ourselves, you know. Make your last name matter, make it a sense of pride for your children and talk about it with them. What are your values? What does it represent to hold your last name? You know, we are trustworthy. We leave the world better than we found it, or we leave things better than we found them. We're, whatever. Party animals. Just kidding. Some of the families in here were party animals, actually. I think that's what I liked about this book, is you had very different ways of parenting. From the party animal guy, actually, I don't remember his name, but he had a very sweet, sweet, surprising tip. He talked about dating your kids. He's a daddy, and he talked about dating his daughters and taking them on one-on-one dates. And actually several parents talked about the importance of one-on-one dates with the children. But what the party animal crazy dad did was he wrote in a journal each of the dates he took his daughter on and saved a little memoir from the time she was like 3-4 years old. And then he's planning on her wedding, giving her this surprise diary of all their daddy-daughter dates. So I did that. I took Samson, my eldest, to a symphony and made a little journal blurb. One of the other dads in the book said what he does is also documents on the kid's birthday in a similar kind of journal. So every year on the birthday, writing a little note to the son or daughter being like, you know, you're 4 years old and here's what we're going through, mom and dad. And he talks to them as if they're an adult. So being honest, being like, we are having financial issues right now, or mom had a miscarriage or whatever, because he figures one day when his son is old enough, maybe 18, 20, he'll give him this journal. And then of course the son's going to remember his past birthdays as he did as a kid, but he'll also get a glimpse into what his parents were going through. So I thought that was neat, holding back a special journal to give your kids at a later point. Like I said, a few different parents talked about that. And dating your kids, making time for that. I mean, it's hard enough to just sometimes carve out time as parents or as individuals, but also one-on-one with the kids. And that all just comes down to planning. A lot of these people are such high profile people. If they can find time and make time for it, I don't know, I have no excuse. I guess. What is it again? Consequence-based living? Okay, fine. No excuses. The Butcher family has an awesome concept as well. They have 4 children and they created something called a life book. You can Google, look at life book. They have a whole mini course on how to do life book. I guess it's a full course. It's not a mini course. But essentially, if your life were a book, what would it read? So what is your biggest, highest vision financially? And you write down the details of that, specifics. What is your goal in terms of your love life with your partner, with your husband, with your wife? What does your relationship with each of your children look like? What is your health? So they go through, I've actually done the life book course. I have to redo it. It's one of those things you're supposed to constantly revisit, but actually scripting your life and reading it. Because if you can't dream it, you're not going to do it. And if you don't write it down, what's the chance you're going to do it too, right? Once we start like writing, we start inviting. That's the whole concept. So they're a really neat family, the Butchers, and their life book concept is super potent. There was a gentleman named Naveen, and he talked about, he's very financially wealthy and he has 3 hyper successful adult children, but he talks about the biggest thing he put into his children, and even for himself, his main motivator: what is my contribution? What contribution am I having to humanity? What contribution am I having to this world? How am I leaving it a better place? So I liked, you know, all the money ideas from a previous chapter, but then I thought wrapping it in that bow of contribution. At the end of the day, money's great. You can't take it with you. How are we going to change the world as a family, as individuals? So to even put that in your kids is such a beautiful calling, I think, such a gift. Who else is in here? Okay, my last favorite tip, and this also came from a lot of different families, but there was one family called the Fat-Fueled family, and they spoke about having their Shabbat dinner. So they're not Jewish, they're actually Christian, but this idea of like a Sabbath dinner or that very special once a week gathering as a family, and it's held as like sacred time. It is ultimate family time, and there's a meal and you're connecting with God and really making these beautiful, beautiful core memories. So some of the other parents in the book also held this kind of a Sunday dinner or whatever, and with adult children, they said it's one of those things that the kids are still willing to come back home for. You know, even if it's once a month where everyone gathers at grandma and grandpa's house, their kids are big now, they're grandparents, but they come back for that family gathering around the dinner table. So just the importance of the family dinner table and those memories and all the different, you know, the values that can be talked about, and moral things. And a lot of them were saying even theological things, which is really neat and beautiful. So yeah, just ending on that note of consciously crafting our life with our kids, whether it is through a life book or writing down those family values, what it means to have your last name, dating your kids, family dinners. There's so many awesome things in the Boundless Parenting book. I should probably buy a hard copy and read it again. I'll probably get like 20 more top tips. But as of right now, those are the things that I'm really excited to implement and work with. And hopefully some of them also bless and benefit you and your family. Okay, have a good day.